All right, we have a fun story today. We're going to get to move around a lot, and I'm going to need your help. All right, so that's what we're going to do first. So, we're going to start with some music. Can you stand up a little bit? Come on, stand up here. And we're going to play a little game of follow the leader. So we're going to start playing some music, and you need to do what I do. So let's cue up some cool music back there. Let's cue up some cool music. We're going to cue up some cool dance music, or I'll start singing. Woo! Okay, ready? It's called the Cabbage Patch. Woo! Stop! Woo! All right. That was cool, huh? We just played a game of follow the leader. All right, you guys can sit down for a minute now. And you know what? The Israelites had a leader, didn't they? We've been talking about Moses. But today we're going to talk about another leader. So let's go ahead and see who we are talking about today. We're going to be in the book of Joshua. That might be a hint. We're talking about Joshua. And we're going to be in the book of Joshua. Isn't that cool to have a book of the Bible named after you? It's pretty amazing, huh? So just as we talked about playing Follow the Leader, why don't you guys stand up with me again? The Israelites had a leader too. And so for 40 years they marched around. Why don't you march with me? For 40 years they marched around the desert looking for something, didn't they? They were looking for the promised land. They were looking, like this. They were looking over hills. They were looking behind rocks. They were looking all over the place. And for 40 years they looked and couldn't find it. And then they came to a place where they sent spies. And those spies looked again through their telescopes. And they saw the promised land. But there were big, strong, what are strong people? What do they look like? Strong people. There were strong people over there. And the Israelites were scared, huh? They were scared, but God said, you have nothing to worry about. I will deliver you. And the Israelites were still scared, huh? All right, you guys can have a seat again. So that's where we left off. We got right to the Jordan River. We're ready to enter the promised land, huh? But there was a whole generation of people who just didn't have the faith in God to help them through. And so he told that generation that they wouldn't get to enter the promised land. Isn't that sad? Even Moses was included in that. Poor Moses didn't get to go to the promised land, but we know he got to go to heaven because we see him later in the Bible. So they pick a new leader. What was his name? Joshua, huh? Okay, and we're going to talk about him today. So what does being faithful mean? If someone's faithful, what does that mean? Does someone know what faithful means? It's a big word. Faithful. Okay, let's go over to kindergarten and see if we know what faithful means. That's a big word, buddy. If someone's faithful, huh? Means thank you? Kind of. If someone's faithful to us, we might say thank you. How about you? They believe in themselves. If you're faithful, what else? If someone is faithful to you, what have they done for you? How about you back there? Last more. They have been kind to you. If someone is faithful to you, they've kept their promise, right? They said, if you believe me, I will do this for you, and they do it. And so we might thank them. They have been nice to us. God is faithful to us. God always keeps his promises. And what did he promise the Israelite people? That he would take them where? Say it, shut up. The promised land, right? He said he was going to take them to the promised land, and God did. So, as the people march up to the Jordan River would have been flooding this time of year. It would have been a mile wide and very deep. A mile would be like from here to McDonald's. No, further than that. You know where further than here to McDonald's. It'd be like from here past A-Town Diner. It'd be like all the way down a wide river. And the people get there and they go, oh no, how are we going to cross this river? And Joshua says, because God is faithful. Okay, Miss Tiffany, can you help me find 8 volunteers? We're going to act out a crossing of the River Jordan. All right. We're going to have our volunteers meet right over here. Come on over here. Miss Tiffany's picking out 8 volunteers. Okay. All right. We got 8 volunteers. All right. So here's what we're going to do. All right. Well, check this out. This is the Ark of the Covenant. Pretty good, huh? There it really is. Pretty close. So the Ark of the Covenant was a symbol of God's promise. And the Ark of the Covenant would march in front of the Israelites wherever they went. And people were scared of the Ark of the Covenant. People from other lands, because where the Ark went, the Israelites won. Where the Ark went, God's promise was revealed. So the Ark, while itself didn't have power, the power came from God, but it was a symbol of God's promise. So why don't 2 of you from the front and the back? So you're going to hold it. So the way you hold the Ark of the Covenant is you hold it. Why don't you hold both of those, okay? And you hold those on the front, okay, like this. So you're facing forward, okay? All right. So what would happen was the Ark of the Covenant would march in front with the priests, and the people, the Israelites, would march behind. And so when Joshua said, God wishes us to cross and enter the promised land, you know what he did? Girls, why don't you stand at the foot of the river right there? Mile wide. And as soon as you set your foot on it, just down a little lower there, the river parted. What? Just like this. The river parted. As soon as the ark touched the feet of the people holding the ark, the river parted just like that. And come on now, you guys can follow right down the river. Come through here. Everybody follow the priest with the Ark of the Covenant. They walked right around here, through the tunnel of water, and they came out on the other side in the promised land. Okay, so come on over here. Yay, made it to the promised land. Woo! All right, thank you guys for helping. That was a little visual of how this whole thing kind of worked. And so they entered the promised land, and everybody was so excited. And then, you know what happened? As soon as they got across that river, they were so excited, and then they saw something else. But these were now the younger Israelites. They had faith, and they had a great new leader in Joshua. And he was full of energy and hope and passion for God. And then they came to another place, and they said, wait a minute, God, aren't these where those big, strong people live? Remember they saw the big, strong people? And Joshua said, God is faithful. God will deliver us. And so God told Joshua, he said, hey, Joshua, you know the city of Jericho? Let's take a look at the city of Jericho. Whoa, man. He said, you are going to enter the city of Jericho. Now, this is Jericho being unearthed, but you can see these big stone walls. They were so high, you couldn't get in the city of Jericho, and it was full of big people. But Joshua said, we will enter the city of Jericho, and God will deliver the city to us. Isn't that crazy? God will deliver the city to us. And so if we turn to our Bible to Joshua chapter 6, check this out. This is an amazing part of the Bible. All right. In chapter 6, verse 3, I believe, God says, I will deliver Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men, and do this for 6 days. So God said to march around the city once a day for 6 days. And then he says, have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram horns in the front of the ark. We saw the ark, right? On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. And when you hear them sound a long blast, now this is important because we're going to do this today. When you hear them send a long blast on the trumpets, have all the people give a loud shout. and the city will collapse, and you will go in and take over the city and every man. And so that's what the Lord tells to Joshua. So, Miss Tiffany, we're going to try this in an organized manner. Why don't you all stand up, and we're somehow going to try and line up. Maybe Miss Tiffany can help me. And we're going to march around the room. And we're going to bring down the walls of Jericho. So maybe we can start with each grade, or we don't want to do this. We'll just walk around. Okay. Put your trumpets up. Put your trumpets up. Okay. Start walking around. Walking around the city. A big loud blast, and everybody went, ah! And the walls went crumbling down. Oh my goodness! And the people could enter Jericho, and it was amazing. And they yelled again, yay! Yes! And the Israelites not only entered the promised land, they got to live in their first city because God is faithful, right? God always keeps his promises. God loves us. God cares for us. And he wants the best for us. And so today's lesson is all about when things seem difficult, crossing rivers, defeating big, strong, mean people. God delivers. God is faithful. And God delivers for all of us every day. Right? So I'm going to say at the count of 3, I'm going to say God is faithful. I want you to say that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. God is faithful! All right, thank you, kids. That's our story. Now I got you all amped up for your the rest of your day. Sorry, teachers. All right, Miss Tiffany, here we go.